Welcome to the Seed to Table video series. This video is produced in partnership between the Calgary Horticultural Society and the City of Calgary as part of a circular economy initiative. The circular economy eliminates waste and pollution and conserves resources. It is a shift from a throwaway to a circular mindset to extend the life cycle of goods, food and resources through better design and continuous reuse so nothing goes to waste. The table specifically is a low-input growing initiative that goes through each of the steps required in a gardening journey. The classes and resources in this initiative will help you to become increasingly self-sufficient, save money, and reduce waste. Below you see the steps in our seed to table journey. You can start the cycle at different points of the year, but may have to adjust what or where you're growing. Planning is a very important part of this journey. Don't grow what you won't use. Research plant growing conditions and use as much of a plant as possible. Think about how to reduce inputs at each step of the way. For example, build up good soil to reduce reliance on fertilizers and use renewable materials instead of plastics. Be a good observer and you can catch potential problems early. Overall, think about how you can become more self-sufficient, save money, and reduce waste. Enjoy the following video to answer those questions.
There are so many ornamental and edible plants that are perennial in nature that we grow as annuals on the prairies due to our short growing season and severe winters. The result is an often held belief that all vegetables are annual plants. Nothing could be further from the truth, and there are many great advantages, not to mention great eating, from some of the commonly grown perennial edibles, as well as some of the less common ones that we can grow in our gardens. There are a multitude of reasons why we should grow perennial edibles. For starters, and literally they come back every year, reliably producing food for free to us. They often are coming up extremely early and are ready to harvest well before annual plants are sown or transplanted. They can be extremely productive throughout their growing season. That season can be as short as 6 weeks or all the way through the growing season. They are often available to us for free through exchanges or over the garden fence or at little cost, as many gardeners will divide their plants as the clumps get big and share the results with everybody else. They often will extend our growing season, producing well after annual edibles have been harvested. Additionally, we should be growing perennial edibles in our gardens because they require so little in the way of inputs such as fertilizers. All we need to do is add compost around the crowns of the plants each year and they're done and ready to grow. As a group, perennial edibles are relatively free from most pests and diseases, meaning that all you need to do is monitor to make sure that the plants themselves are healthy. They also contribute to soil health throughout the garden due to their large root systems, which will help prevent soil erosion and compaction. They will also sequester soil moisture into the soil, making it available to those plants as well as other plants around them. And they have their leaves are dynamic accumulators, which means that they draw up nutrients from the deep down in the subsoil and bringing them up into the leaves themselves, which means that they're extremely nutrient dense for us. And if the leaves themselves aren't edible, you can use them in the compost or just as a mulch around the plants, which will enhance soil fertility. As well, perennial edibles will contribute to biodiversity in the garden, attracting beneficial insects as well as birds and other wildlife where they find habitat, food, and shelter. Rhubarb, or pie plant as it's sometimes called, is perhaps the poster child for perennial edibles. Actually, it's not a fruit, but rather a vegetable, as it is the stalk or petiole that we consume. But in the United States, a New York court decided way back in 1947 that since it was used in the States as a fruit, it really did count as a fruit for the purposes of regulations and duties. A side effect was a reduction on the tariffs that they were placed on imported rhubarb, as tariffs were higher for vegetables than fruits. Rhubarb contains oxalic acid in high concentrations in the leaves. The stalks, however, are safe for us to eat. A native of Siberia, rhubarb grows best in cool, moist summers and cold winters that freeze the soil solid and induce dormancy in all the plants. It does prefer a pH of 6 to 6.8 and sandy, well-drained soil, which is rather a challenge for our prairie clay-based alkaline soils. So regular addition of compost and other organic matter is essential. Rhubarb can be a very heavy feeder indeed, and will not produce many stalks if there isn't enough nutrients in the soil. So additions of fish emulsion or kelp meal can be helpful as an annual mulching with manure and or compost. Do harvest the stalks from May through June by twisting the stalks at the bottom. New plantings of rhubarb are easily obtained by splitting divisions from the dormant clumps in early spring with a sharp spade and making sure that there's at least one bud with each section. Plant the divisions at about 90 to 150 centimeters apart or plan for 1 square meter for each plant. Do set the pieces deep in the soil so that the crown is about 5 centimeters or 2 inches below the soil level, and then cover. Do wait until at least the following year of planting to start harvesting, and then only remove just a few of the stalks for a short period. Allow the plant to build up more energy for future seasons by refraining from harvesting more stalks past July, and always leave at least 4 leaves while they are producing to ensure good photosynthesis. There are lots of cultivars available for rhubarb, with Canada Red, Valentine, or Strawberry being our prairie favorites. Dandelion. They were brought to the Americas by settlers as early as the 1500s, as it was a plant that was valued so much in Europe. A most desirable weed for us, but do make sure that when you harvest that no herbicide has ever been used on the plants that you do harvest. For a plant with a reputation as a troublesome weed, dandelion has a remarkable number of virtues. It has been consumed for thousands of years as food. Almost all parts of the dandelion can be eaten. The nutrition value of dandelion greens, particularly for vitamin C, is actually much higher than most other salad plants. Do harvest leaves, flowers, and buds when they are young. Consider having a small patch in the garden devoted to this versatile plant for both you and the bees that come to this early blooming perennial, which is a major source of food during the dearth time in early spring. Cultivated selections differ in various respects from wild plants, some tending to have broader, more deeply lobed leaves, and others a very high production of leaves, often are semi-erect. Common sorrel and its cousin French sorrel. In the time of Henry VIII, common sorrel was held in great repute in England, but after the introduction of French sorrel with its larger succulent leaves, common sorrel lost its position as a salad and pot herb, and for many years it has been ceased to be cultivated much. This delicious, lemony, large-leafed green is not only a pleasant treat added to salads, but it's also a dynamic accumulator of both phosphorus and potassium. It concentrates and draws nutrients to the soil surface with its deep roots. Sorrel, it's considered a salad herb if it's used fresh in salads. It can also be used in soups and sauces as a flavoring. Do harvest entire leaves at the crown throughout the season, and often it can be harvested well past the first frost. It contains high amounts of oxalic acid, so should not be consumed in large quantities, but they do have very many medicinal benefits. Common or stinging nettle. It certainly is a plant with a high reputation to beware of. It's a weedy perennial plant of the nettle family, and of course it's known for its stinging leaves. Many hollow stinging hairs called trichomes are found on the leaves and the stems, and they act like little hypodermic needles, injecting a histamine and other chemicals that produce that stinging sensation when in contact with human skin. The plant has a long history of use as a medicine, as a food source, and a source of fiber. Roots, seeds, stems, and young leaves are all edible and highly nutritious. It can be used as a cooked green, as a side dish, as well as in soups, stews, and pesto for that matter. Teas can be made from fresh and dried leaves and are refreshing and have many medicinal benefits. Nettles are huge insectary plants, attracting bees by the hundreds. Asparagus. It's the quintessential spring vegetable that is perfect for us to grow, as it needs to have a dormancy period each year where the ground is frozen. Our cool spring and early summer temperatures are perfect for producing very sweet sprouts with a high sugar content. Shoots do emerge as soon as the soil warms up and are harvested for about 6 to 8 weeks in May and June. But then we need to leave the rest of the sprouts to grow out to feed the plant. The gardener looking to establish an asparagus bed needs to consider that asparagus is really long-living, so do look for a spot that will not be disturbed for years, which receives full sun and preferably shelter from prevailing winds. Before planting, the area needs to be deeply dug and make sure that all of the perennial weeds have been removed. Dig in lots of organic matter and create a trench about 15 centimeters deep. Set newly obtained crowns, either 1 or 2 year roots that have at least 10 roots in the trench and spaced about 30 to 45 centimeters apart. Cover the crowns with 5 centimeters of soil and gradually add soil as they grow until the soil mound is at ground level. Mulch the bed with straw or other organic matter to keep the soil cool, and which will also reduce seed germination and conserve moisture. Being a perennial, asparagus needs to be firmly established before it can be cropped. So for the first 2 seasons, you need to allow the plants to develop full growth and enjoy the lovely feathery fronds that generally reach about 60 centimeters to about 1.5 meters tall. If you have a female plant, they will develop red berries at the end of the season, which should be removed before they split open and scatter the seeds. In the 3rd spring, a very limited harvest can be sampled, and make sure that there is lots of sprouts left to develop full foliage and die back in that fall. Once the asparagus bed is mature, it can sustain that 6-week harvest cycle as long as organic matter is added every year to ensure the soil has lots of nutrients to feed the plants. Cultivars worth looking for include Jersey Giant, an all-male cultivar that is very vigorous and resistant to asparagus rust, Martha Washington, a very old-fashioned hardy cultivar, and a new arrival, Guelph Millennium, which is bred out of Guelph, Ontario. Hops. It's a small genus of flowering plants in the family Cannabaceae. The English name hop comes from the Anglo-Saxon hoppen, which means to climb, and climb they do. They are vines with very stout roots that can grow some 20 feet tall in a single season and die back each year. The young shoots are harvested as they emerge from the soil, just like asparagus. The tender first foliage, blanched, is a good pot herb and can also be used as a table green. The fruit, called hops, that gives the plant its name, are harvested in September and can be used for making beer. But also, the hops can be used to make a yeast that is a substitute for baker's yeast, as well as in tisanes and ground up in soups and stews. A hops pillow will send you sweetly to sleep. Horseradish. It's an extremely long-lived plant that can be propagated from pieces of root. It requires careful cultivation practices to make sure that it is well behaved in the garden. Choose a sunny location with well-draining fertile soil for preference. The horseradish can tolerate a wide range of adverse conditions. A good technique for cultivation is to plant the horseradish root in a tub or container that either has drainage holes or the bottom cut out of it, and then plant the entire container right into the soil to the depth of the top of the container. This will help contain the plant. The tapering roots can grow 60 centimeters or more into the subsoil right through the bottom of the pot and bring up lots of valuable nutrients. Usually horseradish is grown for their pungent roots, but the young leaves can also be used as a spicy green or in pesto. Roots are generally harvested in the fall, but can also be harvested in spring as they have a milder flavor. Flowers attract many pollinators indeed, but do make sure to deadhead the stalks after flowering to avoid self-sowing and getting lots of baby horseradishes. Horseradish, it's long-lived and almost impossible to remove from a location once it's established, so make sure you place it in the right position to begin with. Sunchoke or Jerusalem artichoke. They're not from the Mideast, nor are they artichokes. Jerusalem artichoke is actually a sunflower native to eastern North America, where it was considered an emergency food for settlers. Harvested for the stem tubers that have a nutty flavor, they contain inulin, which enables people with diabetes to consume them. They're also a great substitute for potatoes and carrots. They're big, vigorous, tall plants that can grow between 2 to 3 meters and some 120 centimeters wide. They produce distinctive yellow sunflowers in late summer, which should be deadheaded to boost the size of the tubers. Full sun and well-draining, organically rich soil are preferred for great tuber production. Like horseradish, these plants, if you leave the flowers, are great insectary plants, attracting many pollinators and other beneficial insects in the fall. And as these plants are stem tubers, they will spread, so make sure that you contain them by harvesting them lots. The tubers are ready to harvest when the foliage dies back. Plants can be either dug out entirely and then with some tubers replanted, or portions of the root harvested. Perennial onions, bunching or Welsh onions, or Egyptian walking onions. These are multi-use bulbs as a 3-in-1 crop. Egyptian walking onions are a hybrid of the Welsh onion and the common onion that originated in the Mideast. They're also known as tree, perennial, or top-setting onions, and this species' botanical name says it all. They are a very unusual but prolific onion and as tough as nails. In early spring, frost-tolerant slender shoots emerge to become stalks with marble-sized bulbets developing at the top, similarly to garlic. Under the weight of the maturing bulbets, the stalks bend down, and where they touch the soil, the bulbets will take root and naturalize in the garden. Welsh onions, the name Welsh onion is unfortunately a misnomer. The Welsh onion is not from Wales, it's native to China. And Welsh is derived from the German word Walsh, meaning foreign or non-native. And Welsh onions are a non-bulbing onion, though the roots will swell slightly. To establish either in the garden, select a sunny site with well-draining soil, high in organic matter. Till the soil to a depth of 20 centimeters and amend with compost. Place bulbets at the depth of 2.5 to 5 centimeters deep and cover with soil. The first year the plants will not produce top sets as all of the energy is devoted to growing the bulbs at the base of the soil. In following years, once the top sets mature, bend down the bulbets to the soil and let them take root. The stalk can be cut through to create daughter plants. Every few years the mother plant can be dug up and divided for more plants. Welsh onions are easily propagated from seed, and those blooms at the top produce plentiful seed. Both perennial onions come up early, and young scapes can be harvested. The top bulbs can be taken in early summer for a pungent onion indeed. Seeds can be ground up as pepper, and bulbs at the bottom are harvested in the fall. To keep in check, simply eat them. Hardneck garlic. It's a crop that we love to grow and to eat. True garlic has two subspecies, hardneck and softneck, and it is the hardneck garlic that we grow in our area. Garlic originated in the wild in Central Asia and has had more than 5,000 years of history as an important agricultural crop for us. It's a subperennial that is harvested and replanted yearly in the fall. It's perfect for our climate and our alkaline soil. Maintaining top quality of your bulbs requires care and attention. Weeding is important as garlic does not like competition. Watering and not watering, harvesting on time, curing properly are all important for producing bulbs with good storage qualities. Garlic are multi-purpose as the leaves, scapes, and young bulbs and fully formed bulbs can be harvested. They can be expensive to start growing as seed bulbs are pricey, but once the first harvest is in, you're going to plant a few and eat the rest. The crop will multiply each year without the need to purchase more bulbs. There are a number of resources available should you decide to investigate more edible perennials. There's 4 books in particular that I'd like to recommend. One is Edible Perennial Gardening by Annie Kelsey, written in 2014. Growing Perennial Foods by Acadia Tucker in 2019. How to Grow Perennial Vegetables by Martin Crawford in 2012. And plainly named Perennial Vegetables by Eric Tosenmeyer in 2007. Enjoy. In conclusion, the perennial edibles contribute to the circular economy by contributing to continuous use as they come back every year. They require fewer inputs and resources for a reliable and prolific harvest. They have less waste as they stay in the garden year over year, contributing to a sound ecological environment. They contribute to food security through always being there for their yearly harvests. Please use your phone camera to visit our Seed to Table evaluation page and give us your program feedback for this particular presentation. Thank you. Thank you for listening and viewing this presentation. The Seed to Table program is offered in partnership with the City of Calgary, and I do encourage you, if you wish more information, to visit the Calgary Horticultural Society page at calhort.org. Thank you.